Hi, Dennis from No1 Studios here. Today, we'll be going through the basic building blocks of all games and apps, the code. Just like in the last video, we'll be using the 2D core game template. The scripting in Unity uses C#, so if you're already familiar with this language, then all this should come naturally to you. However, for those of you who are unfamiliar with C#, it's never too late to learn. Before we start coding, you'll first need to learn about game objects. A game object is simply a container that holds a collection of components, which in turn determines how the overall game object behaves. Game objects can be player objects, enemy objects, menu objects, or even light sources, just to name a few. To create a game object, simply right-click on an empty space under the Hierarchy tab. Then, select the Create Empty option. Selecting an object in the hierarchy will display that object's components over at the Inspector tab. As you can see, in its simplest form, a game object is simply a container that holds a transform component, which is basically just a coordinate in the scene space. While there are a lot of different components that you can add onto a game object, for the purpose of this tutorial, we'll be focusing solely on scripts. So go ahead and create a new script component and attach it to your game object. Once your script has been added, it should look something like this. Once you've successfully added a script, you can edit or customize it by right-clicking on its component, then selecting Edit Script. This should open up a Visual Studio Editor, leading to a window that looks like this. All scripts in Unity come preloaded with two default functions, Start and Update. The moment the game object containing this script is made active in the hierarchy, the contents of the Start function runs once, and the contents of the Update function runs repeatedly. The interval at which the Update function repeats is tied to the game's frame rate, more specifically, the time it takes to generate a single frame. Now, let's bench the theory and start coding. Finding a function that prints things onto the screen is highly recommended whenever learning a new coding language. To that end, enter the Debug.Log function. This function will take anything placed between its brackets and output them into the console tab. For now, let's just use the cult classic string hello world to try this out. Once you're ready, save the changes on both your script and game, then press the play button in the Unity editor. Upon running, you should be able to see Hello World displayed on both the console message area and the console tab. And, depending on where you place the Debug.Log function, the Hello World string will appear either exactly once, if placed in the Start function, or ad infinitum, if placed in the Update function. While there are very good reasons as to why these functions behave in these very specific ways, for now, I'd recommend you stick with the Start function. Now that we know how to print, let's look at if conditionals and loops. The if conditional consists of a body of code and a condition. The body of code runs only when the condition specified is true. Alternatively, an else condition can be appended below it, in order to have a different body of code run when the condition is false. The for loop consists of a body of code, along with a declaration, a condition, and an incremental update relating to a counter variable. For this case, counter variable I starts off as 0, and while its value is less than 5, the body of code will be run to completion. Each time the body of code is completed, the value of I is incremented by 1, and the process repeats until I is no longer less than 5. Typically, for loops are used to dynamically navigate through data, while if conditionals are used to catch specific targets or situations. And they can be used in concert to do amazing things. For now, you should simply focus on getting such codes to work without any errors or warnings. The application of such codes will naturally become clear as you use them more over time. From my own personal experience, I find that the best way to actually get used to coding is to query issues online. By reading the various possible solutions to your problems, you'll then be able to compile the relevant bits into a solution of your own. You can then use Debug.Log to test your adapted code and verify that it does indeed work. Want to try this out? Try messing with the code template attached in the caption link. Remember, reliable cadence is key. Even if progress is somewhat uneven, as long as you maintain a steady forward momentum, you'll have the basics down in no time. I'm Dennis Jar, and this has been a No1 Studios quick tutorial. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.